So many amazing, brilliant, wonderful episodes of the L Word, but this one just ain't it, sis. Like this one just is left best to the memory banks of 2009. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. And we are here. It is the final season of the original L Word when it comes to retro reviews. And as I said in my last video, I certainly did not think that we would get to this stage in the retro reviews and still not have any sign of a new episode of Generation Q. So it's extremely disappointing, but we also didn't think that there would be, you know, a worldwide pandemic going on for over a year. So you play the cards you're dealt, unfortunately. And Miss G has just sat down here in her filming chair. She really loves to sit on her chair it's got her little cushion and stuff. So she's ready, I'm ready. I hope you all are ready, because this isn't going to be easy, guys. Most of you know what you're getting into. It's season 6. We leave logic, reason, all of that pretty much out the door. So take a seat, take a deep breath, and let's get right into the video. The only thing that I will say very, very quickly is, if you are not already subscribed to this channel, I know that this isn't your first video, and I know you're gonna watch more. So do me a favor, do the channel a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if at any point you enjoy the video, please give it a like. And I would really, really love to hear everyone's thoughts in the comment section, especially throughout season 6, because yeah, it's just a wild ride. And also don't forget, if you want to support the channel anyway, and also get your paws on some L Word merch, there's a link to my L Word merch store in the description box down below. And I'm also working on some new L Word merch at the moment, which I got some mock-ups of it today, and it's looking really good. So check out the merch store if you have a chance. So here we go, season 6, episode 1, Long Night's Journey into Day. I mean, for once, the title is pretty apt, because this night feels as though it is going on for about a year and a half, because we also do get pretty much 6 minutes of the season 5 finale play out in this episode. And throughout the entire episode, apart from the last scene, pretty much everyone is still in the outfits they're wearing in season 5 finale. And I always think this is really funny when shows do this, especially with finales and premieres, because obviously the cast goes away. And I mean, with most shows, they'll end it in May, and then it'll be September or October when the show comes back, and all this cast has been on vacation, been on holiday. And it's really funny, because when you compare the last episode and the premiere, everyone all of a sudden has like new haircuts and are super tan. So I do like, you can tell immediately, like Jennifer Beals, I think, is the one that has like the most noticeable hair difference. And then yeah, it's just, I just always find it funny. But one other thing that I wanted to actually quickly show you guys before we start talking about season 6, and especially the opening scene, is the trailer for season 6, which was going around, you know, before the premiere, and it really was teasing this death storyline. I know there's a lot of people who didn't watch the show when it was originally airing. I did, and it was a highlight of the year whenever the L Word was coming out for me. And it, like exactly like with Generation Q, it's only on for a little time. We used to get the 12 episodes, so it'd be on for 3 months. This season obviously was only on for 2, and going into the season we all knew it was going to be the last. So I'm gonna play the trailer here, and I have played this in a video before, and the song in it is copyrighted. So I've seen other YouTubers do this where I'm going to take the music out, but it also takes out the whole point of the trailer, like the person doing the voiceover. So I'm going to do the voiceover, but just imagine, it's a professional person doing it, but the words are important, so that's why I'm doing it. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to drop the trailer in here. For 5 seasons, we've followed their loves and witnessed their loss. We've shared their passion and endured their pain. For 5 seasons, their lives have become a part of ours. But this season, one of our favorites will take their last breath, and one of the friends will take the fall. So don't miss the first 2 minutes of the season premiere of The L Word. The final season of The L Word, January 18th, only on Showtime. So, as you guys saw with that trailer and heard, we knew going into season 6 there was going to be a death. And for months before, because this trailer definitely was airing for at least a month, it was who is going to be the person that dies. And I remember most people thought it was going to be Max, because we knew that it was going to be a main cast member, and a lot of people thought that would be kind of like an easy out for them, because Max does not have a big storyline or a lot to do. I mean, in the season 5 finale he said 2 lines consisting of 4 words. So I don't ever really remember people being hell-bent on it being someone else. That we knew it wasn't going to be Alice, because even at this really early stage before the show had premiered, they were talking about the spin-off. And then, I mean, personally, I thought pretty much Bette, Tina, Shane, Alice were like really, really safe, and it was going to be some combination of someone else. But as we know, it is Jenny, and I just go back, like, think about myself when I watched this first scene and this first episode, and it just, I remember I watched this at like an L Word watch thing, and then went home and watched it properly, because at those things it's always kind of loud and stuff, and I just remember everyone being like, what is going on? Like, I think the excitement over Lucy Lawless being in it too, kind of, there was pretty much people talking about Jenny being dead, and as you saw with the trailer and other things that were being talked about in the press at the time, they were really angling this is not just a death, this is like a murder, that somebody has murdered Jenny, and it's going to be a season-long arc finding out who did it. And that was being really hammered home in the press, in trailers, in like promotional material, in posters, everything. And then also Lucy Lawless being on the show was a really big deal. And I obviously I'm going to talk about the Jenny murder mystery every episode with these cold opens, but just from the get-go, it was strange, it was bizarre. And a lot of the time with things like this, people years later can reflect back and say, this was kind of weird, this was an odd angle or an odd storyline. But I'm just here to tell you, as someone who watched the show religiously when it was on, and who was an enormous fan, went to watch parties, everything like that, it was weird then too. Like, everybody was kind of on the what is happening to the L word, and even more so because it was the last season, everybody was just super confused even from this first episode. So I just wanted to make that clear from the get-go. So let's talk about, you know, the rest of the episode, breaking down our characters, and, you know, next episode I will, of course, continue on with all of that. So before I even talk about Jenny, Mia Kirshner in this episode absolutely kills it. I think this is one of her best episodes because you just see this range throughout the entire thing. I mean, when, you know, obviously Jenny is extremely her, and from the beginning of the episode, I mean, personally, I thought it was really obvious in the season 5 finale that she is talking to Shane when she says, you know, you've broken my heart. And we have that weird car like, they waste 6 minutes showing us the season 5 finale, and then we also get like a minute, 2 minutes wasted of the car chase, which these minutes are precious because there's only 8 episodes in season 6 and they waste 10 minutes with this rubbish. But anyway, the whole Shane, Jenny, Nikki thing at the house, I mean, Mia Kirshner was amazing in those scenes. And I just think that it's so funny where you see Shane going around the house and like banging on the window, and like Bette and Tina, the houses are literally like on top of each other and the glass is crystal clear with perfect lighting, and they're literally like staring through the window at Shane. I found that really funny. But Bette and Tina are also having this conversation about Shane and Jenny, and I'll talk more about that when I talk about them. But I'm gonna basically cover like Jenny and Shane together, and Shane having to go around, you know, the houses trying to find somewhere to stay. Personally, I thought that was a little bit silly. Like, she could have just gone to a hotel. And it's also kind of Shane making the rounds like, this is a good episode for no one. Like, everyone is having issues. And Shane, when she's out, Bette and Tina, is like, it's obvious. I mean, she could have stayed there normally. Like, you know, Tina's not going to hold a grudge against her or anything. But the whole thing with Angie, obviously, they left. And then Shane tries to go to Alice's house. And Alice and Tasha are having breakdown in their relationship. So Shane ends up going to, you know, that restaurant, and I did think it was un-Shane like for her to just get in the booth with Nikki and her friends. I feel like she just in a normal circumstance would have left, and I also feel like Shane just would have sucked it up and like slept in the back of her Jeep. But also Kit, again, always coming through and being the awesome like friend, grown-up backbone of the group, like the total unsung hero. And Shane, you know, obviously stays there. The end scene where Shane comes in and obviously goes to sit down with the group, and like Alice, Tasha, Bette, Tina and Jenny are there. Helena and Kit are also there, but they're obviously working. I do like the song that's playing when Shane comes in, and then Shane, obviously, Helena tries to scooch her away. She ends up sitting down at the table, and Jenny gets up with Tasha and Tina. And this is the start of seeing this, you know, next episode. And for a little while, we have this like division of, I believe Bette and Tina call it the cheaters and the martyrs. So I do, you know, next episode, like stuff like that is funny, but it is so down the line of Alice, Bette and Shane, and then Tina, Tasha and Jenny, who, you know, they all have similar thoughts on cheating. But I also think that Alice, Bette and Shane, I've talked about this loads in my Generation Q videos, the fact that no matter what. Like, they are the absolute central three of the group. And even though, you know, especially Alice and Bette will like give each other a hard time and things, those three, I think, are the absolute foundation of the group. And that is why Generation Q could only work with the three of them at the center. Like, I think if they had used other cast members, even if it was, say, Bette and Shane and another person, or Shane and Alice and another person, I don't think that it would create such a strong foundation for the show without those three characters, and as well those three actresses. Honestly, even though this episode, it feels like a really long episode, but at the same time, nothing really happens that much. And a lot of it, I feel, is, and this is just being like really honest, I feel is wasted energy, because so much stuff is drawn out and it never goes anywhere. And I think that this episode just is not a strong episode, but also not a strong premiere episode, and a really poor final season premiere episode, because Max isn't even in the episode, and Marlee Matlin's still in the credits. She's not in the episode. Molly is in the episode for all of 5 seconds. Kit and Helena are in the episode for probably about 3 minutes each, and I don't even really have anything to say about them this episode. The entire episode is pretty much split into 3 segments of Tasha and Alice, Jenny and Shane, and Nikki too, I guess, and then Bette and Tina. And the Bette and Tina segments are the only positive segments, and they are probably the shortest of the 3. So I'm going to talk about Tasha and Alice now, because again, I'd normally talk about Helena and Kit here and Max, but as I said, Max isn't even in the episode. And Kit and Helena, they don't really have anything happen. They're just devices for other characters to bounce off. Like, at the end, whenever Helena's basically saying, Shane, come over here, like, they're not even being like real characters in this episode. They're just, moving the other characters from point A to point B. So nothing even really to say about them in this episode, unfortunately. So Tasha and Alice, probably the only positive point that I can see is you did get to see Poppy, and did appreciate that kind of little line from Alice that she's like, you disappeared, and it's like, yeah, she did. Nobody explained anything. And then we do also get the return of Gabby DeVoe, who is played by one of the original writers, Guinevere Turner. So, it's a little nice callback. And most shows during the final season will do things like this and have characters who've appeared throughout, come back and appear. So it is nice that they did do this in the premiere episode, and it happens a bit more, not a huge amount, apart from the last episode, where we get that tape. So Tasha and Alice are kind of dealing with the fallout from Alice having feelings towards Clea Mason, and Tasha in the life cycle, biking episode, made it very clear where she stands on like cheating and even thinking about things. When this episode, when they're talking about their relationship and stuff, and they're saying, basically, oh, we have this in common, like, our chemistry and stuff, it just kind of highlights even more the fact that Tasha and Alice really don't have a lot of similarities, or really any at all, outside of the chemistry. And when you're even looking at things like, to quote Ben, their core values, they are very, very different people. And although I really like Tasha and I really like Alice, and I think they have good chemistry. I don't see them as a couple that could stay together forever and share a life together, because I think they are just fundamentally different people. And I'm sure that if we ever get an explanation in Generation Q about what happened, where is Tasha, how long did they stay together, why did they break up, I'm pretty sure that the reason they broke up will be some sort of core value issue that they just could not create a life together because they are so fundamentally different. One of the lines that really stood out to me when Alice and Tasha are, talking about the whole Clea Mason thing, and Alice says, "I didn't do what every other lesbian would do in that circumstance. I didn't cheat." And I mean, one thing that most of the lesbian community is critical of the L Word about is the fact that is really no positive representation of a couple that just are happy and stay together, and there is no cheating, because pretty much every relationship in the L Word, there is someone who cheats or almost cheats or cheats multiple times or breaks up with someone so they can be with someone else. And it's just, we need some positive representation. And I know that that is one of the things that people take such issue with in Generation Q, is because Bette and Tina, like, I'll talk more about them in a second, obviously, being split up, and even, examining the new couples in Generation Q with Danny and Sophie and the whole Finley thing. And it's not like Sophie just couldn't have broken up with Danny because, she had feelings for someone else. Like, there has to be cheating. And it's something that is so rife throughout the original show in every single season, and is now bleeding into Generation Q. I wish they would tone down with the whole cheating thing. I know it's a TV show, like, I know they need drama, but we also need positive representation in the media, and to not constantly be feeding this idea to heterosexual society that, like, lesbians are these overly sexualized, like, want to go out and cheat and have threesomes and all these things. So that's just my own personal opinion about lines like this and the whole cheating thing throughout every season of the show. So finally, on to the smidgen of positivity in the episode with Bette and Tina. And there are some really great scenes with them in this episode, and especially the one in the car is the one that, a lot of people point to as them starting off in this kind of new era of their relationship. And one of the really strong points of the last season that was very rife with, like, a lot of discontent is that Bette and Tina throughout season 6, their storyline is very positive, and there are a lot of really nice scenes, and they do have overall, like, pretty nice episode and season long arcs. I think there was some really subtle, nice little moments in this episode between them, and a lot of them, yes, they are very subtle and little, but I think that they point to bigger things. Like, whenever they're looking out the window and Shane, is banging on the window, and they're having that little conversation back and forth, and then they're both like, let's not talk about this. I think that shows a lot of growth, especially in Bette, who is more of that type A person, and like I don't want to say need to be right person, but kind of knows when they're right and their opinion and wanting to voice it. So I think that does show her kind of maturity and like maturity in the relationship of saying, I know that we differ on this and I don't want to hurt you, so let's just agree to not talk about it. And when they're also starting the whole thing with Angie and the thermometer, and Bette's taking the temperature, and you know, we all know like Bette is extremely intelligent and she's having like this little meltdown with the thermometer, and we also know that she very incorrectly uses the thermometer and thinks that Angie's temperature is like 104 and it's really like 99.4. And I just Bette being able to say to Tina like, yeah, I didn't use the thermometer right and I'm an idiot. And a lot of the time, like Bette sort of personality people, I speak as one of those people myself, that I'd feel Bette would generally tend to, oh well, the instructions were incorrect, or you know, it says to do this and I did this, and not make an excuse but show the reasoning for why they came to this conclusion or why they used the device in this way or whatever it is. And I just think that this again like shows her growth and shows she's saying, even if it's something really silly like this thermometer incident, and she's being able to say, listen, I was wrong, like I used it wrongly and I created this whole hoopla on going to the hospital, but she's able to own up to her mistake. Also, if I can find this, I will put it up on the screen, but I've come across before kind of the original script of this episode. It's just one page, but it's from when the original, what the writing was for when Bette's speaking to the receptionist at the hospital, and you can see kind of like Jennifer Beals' notes on it. And I think that this clearly shows how much influence the actresses especially had this far into the show, where they are the experts on their characters. And I mean, this goes for Generation Q as well, like with Jennifer, Kate and Leisha being executive producers, but also being the people who play the parts. And I mean, there's a lot of other examples of this in the media especially, and there's that video of Dana Delaney from when she was on the L Word, and Jennifer Beals came to her and was explaining like, listen, I can't kiss you even though it's in the script because my character is trying to get back with her girlfriend and this is the reasoning why she wouldn't do that. And I really appreciate how much they all do know their characters and how much they are putting into it and how they are trying to think as the characters and feel like them and know, hey, they would do this, but no way would they do that. And I just think that speaks to how amazing they are at their jobs and how they are bringing the same energy to Generation Q. And it is absolutely why I completely, you know, put all my trust in the Holy Trinity of Jennifer, Kate and Leisha. So I trust them, and I think that we are going to get even more great stuff in season 2 of Generation Q. But back to this episode. And the best scene by far is the Bette and Tina scene in the car, where they have that, there's no other way to describe it, but super cute scene where Bette is like making that little vow to Tina. So in an episode that is just not the greatest, that is the scene that makes up for it. And it's a really nice scene. And of course, you know what I'm going to say, Jennifer Beals and Laurel Holloman just absolutely kill it. There's not even that many lines or anything. It's everything that they do, the little minute details, like their eye contact, the way that they're talking to each other, and like the whole like hair thing and stuff. They're both awesome, like amazing. And that is pretty much it for this episode, guys. If you couldn't tell, this really isn't one of my favorite episodes. I don't think I've watched this episode for a good few years, And normally, if I ever feel the need to see that little Bette and Tina car scene, I normally go on YouTube and just watch the scene instead of watching the entire episode, because I just really, this episode is not one of the good ones to me. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I mean, am I wrong? What did you think the first time you watched it? I think a lot of people too, like when you haven't watched this in a while and you think about it, you know, in your L Word memory banks, it's the episode where the whole Jenny is dead storyline is revealed. So I think that overtakes a lot. And then me personally, I think about the car scene. So maybe it's just because I never remember how bad this episode is. I know that sounds like mean, but yeah, there are so many amazing, brilliant, wonderful episodes of the L Word, but this one just ain't it, sis. Like this one just is left best to the memory banks of 2009. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you're notified every single time that I upload a video, because you don't want to miss out on any potential season 2 Generation Q news. If you enjoyed the video at any point, also please give it a like, as it really, really helps out the channel. And as I said before, make sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And don't forget to follow me over on social media. I post a lot more over there, so make sure to follow me over there if you want to keep up with everything L Word related in between my videos. And final plug, if you guys would like to get your hands on some L Word merch and also support the channel at the same time, make sure to check out my L Word merchandise in the description box down below. There's a link so you can click through to the store straight from that link. At the moment, I am trying to upload at least twice a week, so always a retro review, always another video. Last week I was able to do 3 videos, so you know, as long as life doesn't get in the way too much, I'll try and keep my uploading as frequent as possible. And of course, I always do my lives on Fridays, so make sure that you join me live on Fridays at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. Pacific. And I will be starting the late night live for the US probably in the next week or two, so keep an eye out for that as well. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know, I really, really appreciate it. Make sure to take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.